except from those who are trying to muddy the waters and sow confusion. Because when it comes to investing money, investment managers are trying to juggle several different points, and I think the noble Lord Pitt Watson made this point very well. They're trying to manage long-term versus short-term risks, UK, EU versus US, rest of the world, emerging markets, equities versus bonds, property versus private equity, new technology versus established activities. Look, it's hard enough to balance all those competing objectives with different timescales without having to sort of having to then to follow all this stuff. I mean, insofar as the biodiversity, we can't measure it as it is today. So if we can't measure it, how on earth are we going to issue the compliance notice contemplated in in clause 41F? And what we've heard today is a lot of sort of the sky's going to fall in whataboutery. And it's denying the simple truth that the people with the most expertise in decarbonisation are those people who are currently most involved in energy production. They have the experience, the capital, the greatest incentive to change the way they do things. So to prevent people from investing in companies that are involved in energy production is denialism of the worst sort. Because if we end up, and I've heard this, I've been a member of the Local Government Pension Scheme Advisory Board since inception about 13 years ago. My term ends next month. And I've seen it all. Pressures for ethical investors. You can't invest in oil or arms or sugar. You can't invest in the supermarkets because they sell sugar. And where does it end? No data centres because, well, they're built on a field that might have had some biodiversity or because they use energy. This overly simplistic approach leads to what I think Lord Pitt Watson spoke about, not responsible investment, but irresponsible investment, because there is no confusion in my mind between fiduciary duty and risk management, yet these set of amendments seek to conflate the two totally separate issues into one thing. And I'll give an example. Through the work we have done in the local government pension scheme, a Mr. Link lobbied very strongly on the grounds of fiduciary duty that the LGPS should disinvest in certain Middle Eastern investments. And that was wrong, and we fought it because we clarified what fiduciary duty was. And I'm glad that we did. We cannot afford to have those waters muddied once more. Now, as part of in pursuance of my duties as a member of the Norfolk Local Government Pension Scheme, a scheme with £6 billion in assets under management, and probably more than 120,000 members when you take into account actives, deferreds and pensioners, I often sit on the bus between my home in Brook and going into Norwich, and if I go after 9:30, then just about every single person on that bus is a pensioner, and by far the greatest majority of those pensioners will be in receipt, just simply through the demographics in Norfolk, of a Norfolk County Council pension or being a beneficiary of one of the other admitted bodies or the other councils. The LGPS manages for millions of people. The pensions aren't large. Those pensioners rely on that modest pension between £3,000 and £5,000 on average. And that's fiduciary duty, ensuring that their pensions are paid in full, on time, for the rest of their natural lives. And what I'm seeing here today is virtue signalling. It's diverting away from the absolute need to have the beneficiary at heart. Now, if there are risks through coal production or biodiversity or whatever, let them be taken into account in risk management. But they are not fiduciary duty, and it's either a willful or an accidental misunderstanding to conflate risk management with fiduciary duty. When you're a pension trustee or an investment manager, you're working for the beneficiary. And that process, that idea, is being lost by the amendments in this group, and I can't support any of them on that basis.
Briefly, rise and